It is time for another match, so what I got for you today is a Platinum League Protoss versus Terran played on Blood Boil. Spawning in the northwest corner, playing with the blue Terran pieces, we have none other than Big Priapism. And his opponent, spawning in the cross position and playing in red, he goes by the nickname of Knives, and in this match, he is gonna be playing with the Protoss Probes. Now, in case you're like me, right, and you have absolutely no idea, and you're a little bit curious about what the word Priapism means, don't worry. I've been generous enough to look it up for you, and I quote, persistent and painful erection. Okay, Mr. Big Priapism, that is a creative name. I like the way, you know, you made your way past, like, the language filter when you first signed up, you know, in StarCraft 2. I mean, it required a little bit of creativity right here, but I think from here on out, just for the remainder of this match, you know, I think I'm gonna be referring to him as Big P. I was gonna say big, but Big P seems at least a little bit more appropriate. Regardless though, he's opening up with those double depots right here at the top of that ramp, going into the barracks, and then the double refinery as well. A little bit of a strange opener right there from the Terran player, not gonna lie. Of course, both of these players are indeed in Platinum League, so they should have a good understanding of exactly what is going on, but we'll figure out exactly, you know, what it is both of these players have got in store for us. Now, Knives, judging by the amount of gas and minerals that he's got, yeah, he's gonna go for that quick expansion. I think that this probe right here was just simply checking if there was any kind of proxy barracks going up, but of course shortly he will jump into that wall off right there at the top of the ramp, and you will recognize, hey, there's nothing all too crazy going on right here in Terran land, at the very least for the time being. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, we do indeed see that quick nexus going down on the low ground. We now also see the cybernetics core going down, so that does mean that Knives is playing a pretty standard build order. And actually, this is looking like some pretty standard building placement as well. I believe that's normally you would put the pylon right over there. A couple of squares to the right, just so you can wall off right here with the cybernetics core. In case your opponent goes for like a quick marine drop, they can't really abuse the terrain right there. Or for example, like a Hellion run by or anything along those lines. And actually, speaking of the devil, we do see that factory going down, as well as a reactor. Now at this point in the game, the Protoss player is a little bit blind, right? I would love to see a quick robotics facility or maybe a quick starport, or Stargate rather, of course, just because he needs to have some detection, right? In case of like a Widow Mine drop, very, very cool builder. In case of like, for example, you know, a quick cloak Banshee, he's gonna have to have some sort of detection to try and shoot that down. And so far, he doesn't really have any kind of tech just yet. We'll have to keep an eye out on exactly what he's got in store for us here today. And actually, he just selected his probe. I'm seeing that beautiful red circle. No? Alright, nothing gets built just yet. Anyway, meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Big Priapism, no, Big P, I'm sorry. Big P! He's making those first bunch of Hellions. He's now also transitioning towards the starport. I wonder if he's planning to go for that tech lab. I wouldn't actually mind seeing a tech lab go down right here, you know, on that barrack, so he can make the big switcheroo right there with the starport and start producing some higher tech units here as well. But regardless, ooh, I would have loved to see the Stargate or the robotics facility. He's gonna need one soon. Probably a robo right now, because the Twilight Council is not quite gonna cut it against the early game aggression. Now, there's still a probe right here, actually, in the top right corner at that watchtower. There's also an adept now moving across the map, but actually, ooh, he started up a robotics facility here on the other side of the map, in a bit of a weird position. I'm not entirely sure what he's looking for here to try and finish up. Regardless though, that adept did most definitely does see that there are a bunch of Hellions moving out across the map. The adept did manage to get on in there, and actually a starport just switched over with that reactor. But I wonder what that robotics facility is gonna do here in just a little bit. Regardless though, ooh, these adepts are not in the proper position. They're not gonna be able to hold position micro right there. And these Hellions actually, ooh, that building, oh my god, I just talked about the building placement as well. Those units are going to be able to roast a whole lot of probes. There's going to be a probe barbecue. I don't know what they would taste like. Ooh, luckily right here for the Protoss player, the target firing from the Terran was rather weak there. And actually, all things considered, I mean, 4 probes was basically the least I was expecting there. I mean, I would have not been surprised there if like that entire clump of probes that got pulled would have all gone down in flames. But luckily right here for Knives, the target firing right there was not quite as good as it could have been. And indeed, Knives does decide to go for a Warp Prism as well as a Dark Shrine. This will of course allow him to be rather aggressive, but at the same time on the other side of the map he won't really have a proper counter to any of this Liberator harass that will shortly be coming in. And the interesting part, of course, is that normally, right, a single Liberator can be countered quite easily, but if you are going up against a second one, Stalkers are not going to cut it, and you're going to need a pylon right here in the back of the mineral line just so you can photon overcharge it down. And there's one decent position right here in the back of the main base, but I'm starting to get a little bit worried about this. We'll see exactly what both of these players have got in store for us. So the first Liberator does indeed move into the natural right here. That is a tough position to hit, because I don't know if there's actually, I think there's a little bit of wiggle room right there with Terran, or the Protoss Stalker can just barely hit it, but still, so much lost mining time, and indeed, it does get the vision on it right there, and at the same time, of course, the Liberator is also gonna move inside of that main base. Dark Shrine just about to finish up. We now also do see that War Prism already out, as well as the Observer. But still, this is a huge amount of losses here in the earlier stages of the game already, and 14 probes in total do end up falling. Big Priapism, Big P rather, I mean, sorry, Big P, making sure that he deals a lot of damage, but he doesn't really have a whole lot of detection just yet. He's got enough energy right here for a single scan. He does also have that missile turret, but if he moves the entire army across the map, it doesn't really matter all too much. Of course, you gotta keep in mind, the Terran player is essentially here on a one base all-in. That Stalker will end up going up in smokes. But other than that, I mean, this is going to be a very tough push to hold. I mean, look at this. We all know the strength of Siege Tank, you know, Liberator pushes. They are extremely valuable. And of course, Dark Templar are going to be great for both offensive pushes, but also for the defensive play. Now, there will be the spotting right there of that missile turret, so at least the Observer will stay alive for a little while longer. But at the same time, Big P is making a move for his opponent's mineral line already. A single mule apparently being cute enough to start repairing that Liberator here. But this is going to be a very, very tough push here for the Protoss player to hold. A couple of Dark Templar indeed now are available. That big time warp does go down as well. I'm not entirely sure what they are looking for, but I think he would have been better off sending those units in one by one upon realizing that the command center did have enough energy. There are also a couple of DTs, however, inside of the main base of the Terran player, and that means that we are in for a bit of a base race. I would love to see continued warp-ins right here of defensive Dark Templar. I think that is going to be the correct option right here. I mean, there's a little bit of energy here, and you gotta keep in mind, of course, there's still detection from that missile turret as well, but DTs, they deal an awful lot of damage, and I mean, this is good micro right there. Marauder is gonna be in some trouble, and I think one of these will indeed end up falling. Continue to harass, however, here on the other side of the map. I mean, the siege tanks are now up into the main base here of the Protoss player. Not quite the scenario you ever want to be in if you are the Protoss player in red here. But of course, you gotta keep in mind, he still had that probe here at the watchtower, and he's starting up a nexus here on the other side. So he's not quite out of this one just yet. At the same time, he's also running a whole lot of the probes away from the shenanigans. I would love to actually see him just simply target fire down that missile turret and then go after the orbital command, because if that orbital is lifted, there's not a chance for the Terran player to actually, you know, do any damage here anymore. The defensive Dark Templar would just absolutely shut this one down, with the exception, of course, of those Liberators. But if the rest of the ground army is gone, dealing with the Liberator is not going to be much of an issue. Knives really not prioritizing any of the guaranteed damage, and actually there's even a second missile turret being erected right now. I'm sorry, I had to make that word choice right there, but regardless, Big Priapism, I mean, he's just gonna continue onwards. I mean, he's trying his very best to clean out all of his opponent's buildings, but of course he realizes that there is going to be at least a little bit of tech here on the other side of the map, because, I mean, judging by the War Prism, he knows that something is not quite right. Now, finally, that orbital command does get lifted. That means that there are no more scans, at the very least, not until this thing lands. And this is going to get a little bit funny, and of course, Knives knows it as well. He's going to try and, at the very least, block that command center for just a little while. Dark Templar now moving after all of these SCVs. You gotta keep in mind, right, there's an orbital command here. It's gonna have to land before it can activate scans. At the same time though, siege tanks still on the other side of the map. They're not being microed here whatsoever, but regardless, they are of course very, very powerful against these stalkers. And even though they've got a nice amount of damage versus armored, both of these units, that siege tank will most definitely get the upper hand. Now the probes definitely can actually finish off that siege tank rather with relative ease, but there's still a lot of defenses here ready for the Terran player as well. Now this is gonna get awkward really quickly. Actually, Big Priapism is now barely in range right there of that nexus as well. He's planting the majority of his army. He's planting them. No, he can't see it actually. He just barely can't see it. Protoss is currently mining right here. Protoss is currently mining right here. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? How does the Nexus not see what's going on? Now, of course, Knives knows about the position right here of the army, as well as that war. I mean, he knows that the majority of the army is nearby here, as well as, of course, that orbital command itself. Big Priapism, though, does not see it. How does the command center work? How does that not see it? I mean, look, if you're on top of that command center, right? How is this Marines? Like, the Marines have got the worst vision. I mean, considering they are, you know, high tier kind of units, you should expect them, you know, at least in space, to be able to see more than, like, I don't know, if a Marine is like, say about, you know, 180, about 6 foot, that can be, dude, they should be able to see that. Regardless, the DTs are coming in. I don't know if you want to do that. I do not know if you want to do that. Scan does get activated here. I don't know if you want to walk in that direction. Oh my god, the Marauder made a move for it. The Marauder made a move for it, and it still did just barely not touch the edge right there of the Nexus. Look at that. The Fog of War right there, it just barely did not touch the Nexus. And somehow, some way, Big P has not quite spotted what is going on here. I mean, he's done a great job of cleaning up the majority of the stuff heroes of his opponent. I mean, he's still assuming that the last of the buildings are over here, but you gotta keep in mind, the Protoss player is not revealed. The Protoss player is not revealed. These probes can easily take out that tank. I'm sorry, tank. I know you were, you know, some high artillery right there, but that's not gonna happen. And I think that even these probes can just easily get on out of here. I mean, the only issue is that Big P is not quite looking around the map just yet. And Knives, he's sneakily mining. He's sneakily mining. He's got, you know, a bunch of resources available. There are no more SCVs, of course, available right now for the Terran player. So even though, you know, he can still construct some of them, he's currently supply blocked, and he's not going to be capable of doing a whole lot. He does have energy, but no more depots to drop supply on either. And this is going to get weird really very quickly. I think both of these players had great moments where they had an option to just simply, you know, finish each other off. But look at this. This is so silly. This is so silly. Are you kidding me? How does that not spot each other? Look at that. That's insane. And actually now the rest of the, you know, bioforce of the Terran player is now also moving across the map. The probes are making the weirdest loop around of their life, trying to touch not a single watchtower right there, and trying to just simply make sure that, you know, the Terran player is not going to be able to spot it. Terran did send out 2 Marines to finish off the Twilight Council, so he's going to be able to do exactly that. But the probes, they're going to continue mining right here, even though they were born on the other side of the map. They were, you know, warped in from Ire, from a completely different place, and Terran is currently scouting out all of the corners here on the other side. He still doesn't know. He still does not know that the Nexus is right there. It's right around the corner. Are you kidding me? That's so unlucky. Knives trying to get back in there. I think he's trying to soak some energy right here off that command center. It's got enough energy for 2 scans. There we go. One of them does get activated. The Liberator, of course, is currently, you know, it's going to be able to do one little pot shot right there, but it's not quite going to be enough. And Big Priya, I mean, he is just simply in a little bit of trouble, and he does still not know about the Nexus. I feel for this guy. I almost feel bad. That is terrible. I mean, he's got that, first off, he's got that, you know, that persistent and painful erection, and then secondly, he's also got this shenanigans going on. I mean, that man he's having a bad day. He's having a bad day. Let's just leave it at that. Now, there is a single probe hanging out the watchtower. I think that this must be... Are you kidding me? Still... No! No! Not a chance! How does that not get spotted? You're literally... Dude, that pilot should get fired. Whoever's piloting that Liberator, fire that guy. That guy's got... What? Is it like a horse? Does he have like the thing, the sides, the flaps on the side of it? Like, what is this? How? I guess it doesn't really even matter all that much, though. I mean, Knives is just continuing... Like, he knows where his opponent's army is located, right? We actually do once again see... No, okay. There we go. He finally does spot it. I was gonna say, he's just simply constructing another Nexus here. Like, nothing is going on. He doesn't need army. I mean, probes and pylons and Nexuses. That's all I need, right? But no, he's gonna be in a little bit of trouble. Now, the Dark Templar will just barely be able to get on out of that scan radius. He's laughing at him right now. Look, that Marine even has to pay for that with its life. Very painful experience, I can imagine. But, I mean, the Nexus was spotted here. And, I mean, while that Liberator is not quite responding... Oh my god, it's got 20 kills. It's got 20 kills. Here we go. Finally, Big P has realized what is going on. He's going to be able to send that Liberator straight into that mineral line. He's sending the probes into a weird direction just to, I guess, make sure that his opponent doesn't know what's going on. I mean, that was the worst, like, maneuver. Alright. The worst fading maneuver right there. But, I mean, the orbital is now out of Oh, he's still got the medevac, actually. I was gonna say, that orbital is now out of energy. He's still trying to, you know, desperately construct an SCV. It doesn't have any energy anymore. But, of course, this is gonna get really messy. He can continuously pick up and just simply get on out of there with those with those units. And, oh, yeah, I actually like this move quite a bit better. Going for the Archon here instead. That's a pretty ballsy little move. Now, he does have enough money here to continue warping in a Zealot or two. Yeah, there we go. I would love to see something like that. Liberator does end up falling, even though it definitely paid for itself. But, oh, I can't believe it. Knives ends up obtaining the victory because his opponent could just simply not see where the Nexus was located. Even though these units, I don't even... That makes no sense. That makes no sense. You know what we have come to realize from this game right here? The entire Terran Dominion, they all need glasses. I want to thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you in the next one.